The simplest way to describe schooling of the past and schooling of the present would be that shift from push to pull. You know, it's now up to us in schools to open up the doors for learning for a new generation, and it's not about pushing content onto them. If we then try and think through what's the future going to be like, well, it's an almost impossible task to predict the nature of technology or change, but what we can do is completely shape that future. And I guess that's for me where leadership comes in, is that, you know, it's a crazy notion to sit back and say what's schooling going to be like in 10 years time. Well, it's what's schooling going to be like tomorrow. You know, am I going to walk into my school and change something based on an idea that I've had, or am I going to sit back and let that idea just fizzle out? So I guess future schooling, you know, essentially is about community. I think you know, if there's one trend with technology, it's that information is pervasive, and no longer are teachers the owners of content, because they're not. And the reality is that kids could actually find out information far more rapidly than extracting it PowerPoint by PowerPoint from a teacher. So therefore, you know, why bother having schools? Well, I think the core of a community has to become the connections within that community. And if you think about the decline in community participation around the world and Australia in the last couple of decades, you've got a massive drift from clubs, from sport, from churches, from a whole range of places, and so therefore there's a void there that schools have to fill, and that void should become filled with developing in kids the capacity to connect with each other, and then connect with their community, and then bring the community in. And I think the whole notion of schools not being the real world has to be completely thrown out. You know, the school experience for the participants who are there, whether it's kids or teachers, has to be the real world. And I think that then starts dictating so many things that we're doing, because you know, it changes the way in which the school looks, changes the way in which schools operate, it changes who comes into the school, and it also hopefully changes the disengagement.